Huge time YouTuber, Video Game Donkey. You've seen him on YouTube. If you haven't, you're like one of two people, okay? He's dominated. Like I said earlier in the start of the show, he's probably one of the biggest gaming YouTubers in the space. And he has decided, I want to say like what, a year, 2 years ago? Probably 2 years ago. Probably a while. He's decided to start a video game publisher. Okay, so he's going to help publish some video games on there. And he's actually had a couple of videos on his channel showcasing some of the games that he's looking into publishing. And it's been really interesting, honestly. He got a lot of flack because like, oh no, a YouTuber getting into the gaming space, like the gaming business, it's never going to work. He's just a YouTuber. Well, he started his company, I believe with his wife and probably some employees. However, I don't know the gist of it, but they started Big Mode. So Big Mode's right here. Probably just search it up real quick. Big Mode Video Game Publishing. Okay, we're starting with some good news here, chat. Big Mode. So there's Big Mode right there. Honestly, logo is fantastic, chat. How do we feel about that logo? I know how I feel. I want to see how you guys feel, because to me, that logo is killing it. That's a good-looking logo. So Big Mode's putting out games, and the first game, to my knowledge, I've never heard of this game, so this is actually great to know. First game has come out, is called Animal Well, and it has dominated on the reviews, okay? Look at these beautiful reviews. A 9 from IGN, 90 from PC Gamer, Your Game, 5 out of 5 Game Informer, 9 out of 10 GameSpot, 9 out of 10. Honestly, I don't know who gave it. What are the worst ones? 8? 8, 8, 8? 8 is the lowest. Like, that's phenomenal. I feel like we don't really see that many 9 out of 10s, right? I feel like we just don't see it that much. So, here, let me just... This is the game. And so I thought, not only is this fantastic, but let's finish the stream off by jumping into this game and let's see what it's all about. So this is Animal Well, and you got to say, like, the art style is incredible. Not only that, but when I went to go install the game was like 30 megabytes. 30. Okay? Like, let's just... I know it's not the same type of game. I know it's not the same type of game, but like Call of Duty is like 200 gigabytes some days. I mean, AAA gaming. I had to install Halo Infinite for a video yesterday, and it was 100 gigs. And it's just like, this looks incredible. And obviously, I know they're different games, but 30 megabytes is insane. 30 megabytes is like, for me, as a programmer, a senior software developer in the tech space, for me, 30 megabytes is like a flex. It's like, hold my beer. That's what that's like. I thought this was really interesting to talk about because I wanted to share something what I think is like super interesting that's happening into the video game space. Right now, obviously we're going to be talking about Xbox later, with Xbox failing and basically firing everybody, and it's just like a bloated company that has just a billion different companies under it, and basically AAA gaming can't sustain itself. Even games like Spider-Man 2, which is essentially just like using the same map, adding more onto the original game. Like, I know there's another section of New York, but Spider-Man 2 shouldn't have been... In theory, right? We don't know what happens behind the scenes. It shouldn't have been the most expensive thing in the world, and yet it still costs about $318 million to make, according to the leaks that we found out. So when you think about that, you start to think, okay, well, video games are starting to become insanely expensive to make, and AAA gaming is no doubt at the forefront of that. Even things like, chat, would you believe the Genshin Impact cost $700 million to make? I made a video on it, and my mind was freaking blown. $700 million. That's insane. That's insane. For Genshin Impact, the Weeb game, the Weeb version of Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. It does not seem sustainable. So, this is what I find super fascinating, because the reach of Donkey is huge. Okay, what I want to put in perspective is when we look at something like, Mr. Beast has Feastables, Logan Paul and KSI, they have Prime. Okay, let's take Prime, for example. Okay, say what you will about Logan Paul and KSI. They are able to effectively ditch marketing of their product, Prime, which costs their competitors upwards of $200 to $300 million to do. So Gatorade their marketing budget per year would be around $200 to $300 million for Gatorade. Okay? And now these two YouTubers, obviously they've done more than that. Like KSI has music. They've been boxing and stuff. Anyway, say what you will about them. The point is, they can now save $200 to $300 million a year just based off the audience that they've built and the trust that they've gained. And they can use that to become super competitive. At the end of the day, like, you have two companies trying to pit two products against each other, and one can do things $200 to $300 million cheaper. That's a huge competitive advantage. And so what I see with Big Mode and, other YouTubers like Pontypants, who, this is another one, we played his game, difficult game about climbing a couple weeks back. It was one of our first stream games. This is a YouTuber putting out game content. So I think in the next 3 to 5 years, and I'd be really curious what you guys think in chat, I think we're going to start seeing a rise of game creators coming from the YouTube space. Because the marketing is the most difficult part of video game. Well, that's probably too tough to say, but marketing is very difficult. You can make the greatest game ever, but if no one knows about it, they're not going to buy it. So marketing plays a huge part. And when you have a built-in audience, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this in the next 3 to 5 years. Like, I really think Big Mode, if they can keep up this trajectory, and not just Big Mode, like I think like a lot of people, okay? We saw a video from fellow content creator Jack Sather, okay? Maybe you've watched Jack Sather. He put out a video where he was trying to make a game in Unreal. That got a lot of attention on his YouTube channel. It's just like, I really think in the future, we're going to start seeing a lot of crazy stuff coming from the YouTube space. And I would say as a game developer in the indie space, I think it would be silly not to try to create YouTube content and try to flex that muscle. Because as a fellow YouTuber, I can tell you the amount of jobs you need to do when you do YouTube: scripting, directing, marketing, graphic design, sound design, editing. There's a lot to it. Strategy. There's a lot to it. There's way more than you would think. It's like basically 17 jobs in one. It's insane. And essentially, you start getting used to trends and seeing what works and what doesn't, and you can see what's interesting for your audience. And I think you tailor that with someone making video games, such as like a Dunkey. I mean, the amount of views and therefore data that Dunkey has to see what is interesting and what isn't, mixed with his actual love for video games, because clearly Dunkey loves video games. That's very, very clear. And he's very locked into the scene. Mix that in and a publisher. I find that fascinating. I really think in the next 3 to 5 years, this is going to be a huge, huge deal. A lot bigger than a lot of people have any knowledge of. And I'm kind of really impressed that the video game journalism doesn't, I feel like they just don't talk about it. I don't know. Maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I never really see it. Let me catch up on your chats. Okay, so we have Fictitious says in the chat, reminds me of how the Game Boy games with stories and characters are so small in size. Yeah, for the 30 megabytes, for sure, for sure. Dirty Dan, these costs all sound so far-fetched to me. Yeah, $300 million to build Spider-Man 2. Like, I'm not saying it should cost less or more, or like $700 million for Genshin Impact, but yo. Oh my god. Damn TDs and Slayers hearing that about Genshin when Breath of the Wild budget was guessed to be around 120 million. I know. Like, Nintendo's like, I feel like Nintendo's one of the only companies that was like, yo guys, the graphics thing doesn't seem sustainable, and only like 1% of the audience actually cares. Like, who actually cares about the 8K 120 frames per second, like cutting edge stuff? When you look at the top games and the top 10 best-selling stuff in the past 10 years, they're all, Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto, Siege, Fortnite, none of them are graphically, like, blowing anyone's minds. It's kind of insane. So, like, what's with everyone's fascination for graphics? I understand graphics from one perspective is, like, really good for marketing. And what's even more strange, you look at things like Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, in my opinion, there's plenty of videos posting this, looks worse than Arkham Knight, which came out in 2015, I want to say, which is insane. Let me keep reading these, okay? Because I love when you guys add to the discussion. I love it. This is why we do this. Greatest gaming community. I just want to have these discussions with you guys. It's just fun to partake with some good old gaming discussions. JJR Withers, I think also lack of marketing doesn't build expectations, so people are surprised when something great comes out. But when a big game with lots of expectations, a release date, and a lot of budget aren't the perfect game, people are disappointed. 100%. I think, honestly, video game marketing, I don't know what you guys think, and this is why I'm super thrilled with the way that, like, Big Mode has done it, because they've basically said, look, this is what we're making, here's a sneak peek, and then whenever it's out, it's like, boom, here it is. We delivered, we said exactly what it was going to be, and we pushed it forward, and it ended up being exactly what it was. And I think with video games, especially in the AAA space, I'd say majority in the AAA space, it's just like, here's a CG trailer of what it could be. You have no idea what the gameplay is. And we'll see you in like 2 years, maybe 5. And then when it comes out, it looks completely different. Look at Avowed from Xbox. That first reveal got everyone so hyped. It looked like the most HD, beautiful, Skyrim-esque vibe. Everyone was hyped. They showed the gameplay. I'm not saying the game will be bad. That's not what we're saying. We're not jumping to those conclusions because we haven't played it. But the gameplay they showed looked incredibly different. And it was honestly a little bit disappointing, in my opinion. I remember when I saw it in the developer direct, I was like, this is not what you sold us. Like, whether this is the best direction for the game or not, you said with your trailer, it's going to look like this. In fact, that trailer was a little deceiving because they were like, this is gameplay for the next generation consoles. And then sure enough, we see the game and it looks fine, but it's like, that's not what you sold us. And I think AAA gaming marketing is such a lot, specifically Xbox. I honestly think Xbox marketing for the past 10 years, I'm not trying to put anyone in hot water.
Play the greatest games lineup in Xbox history.
Hey, I doubt it.
I think their marketing has been such a lie. I like to meme on them anytime I can in my videos because it's cringe, in my opinion. Let me keep reading this before I do that. No Yokes and Guru Basik. If I didn't say that right, you let me know in chat, okay? Thank you both so much for the follow. I appreciate you. You're beautiful. You're goose-tastic. Chat, let's get some hearts for the newcomers, okay? Keep the goslings feeling loved. Let me keep reading your chats. Luke Wolf, if you want games better, remove the shareholders, big corporations listening instead of the people actually playing the games. 100%. I think we're definitely going to touch on that in the Xbox segment. That's going to be a bigger deal. I mean, that's something I really want to touch on, for sure. I'm really glad you brought that up. Fictitious, there's also that with big games. There's a huge distrust in the marketing stuff with Cyberpunk, Battlefield, where marketing in this case comes from very trusted YouTubers. Yeah, I always found that interesting of like the YouTubers that are basically marketing something before it's out. I don't know, like you guys can look at my YouTube channel. There's 0 sponsorships whatsoever. 0. I have none. There's been offers. I just haven't found something that is the right fit. I really want to make something, like if I'm going to do a sponsorship, I want it to be beneficial for all parties. And the idea of like a game company coming to me and saying like, hey, can you market this before it's even out? I'd be like, personally for me, be like, Now, will that make my life harder? Will that make it so I have to eat ramen noodles? Maybe. But I don't know. It's just, yeah, I can't imagine just like marketing Battlefield for 2042. Like when I first saw the trailer, I thought it looked bad. I was like, I don't know what everybody else is seeing. And I feel like there's a lot of like, especially in the gaming like media space, I feel like there's a lot of hype, overhype. Like, chat, can we be real for a second? When the Fable trailer came out, no gameplay, looks completely different than original Fable. Why is the hype there? I know Playground's making it, which, sure. But what do we hype for? They showed nothing that was hype-worthy. Yes, exactly, cause Fable. But if that's the case, just say you're working on a Fable. And they did, and it's like 2 years out, they showed the sword, and it's just like, don't show me CG trailers. Honestly, I wish gamers would make a bigger stink about this. Don't show CG trailers. If you show them, you're dead to us. Grand Theft Auto waited like 15 years. They dropped Grand Theft Auto 6. That's gameplay. That's in-engine. It's there it is. It honestly annoys me so much. Microsoft does it all the time, mostly. Mostly Microsoft. It's very annoying. Let me keep reading your chat. X-Bacon Gaming. Gaming is broken. I love it. Short, sweet, to the point. It isn't Xbox gaming. It's Microsoft gaming. Okay? Max Verstappen. Really appreciate you and your F1ing. Okay? Really appreciate it. Goose, my glorious king. We love to have it. We love to have it. Chat, if you want to throw me a couple compliments here or there, maybe cameraman, a couple compliments, you know it feels good. And I'll like it. Or maybe throw each other some compliments. Dirty Dan, there's just games for that. Most games just need their own art style. Yep, I would totally agree with that. Art direction over graphics, Iron Ultron, 1000%. I think art direction is such a big thing. I mean, yo, graphically, Elden Ring isn't like crazy. I'm talking technically, you zoom in on stuff. I don't think everything's crazy. But art direction from Software is goated. You take one look at any place of Elden Ring, and it looks like the most beautiful thing in the world. The art direction of the From Software team is like such another level. And I think the games are way better for it, like 1,000%. First time chatter, Recycled Foot Lotion YouTube. I really love that username. I love that username more than you'll ever know, Recycled Foot Lotion. I think it's more about how smooth it is instead of how real it looks. 1,000%. I honestly would say that if you had to choose between animations and graphics, like the way your character emotes, I think animation's a way bigger deal. You go look at the original Gears of War versus Gears of War 5, there's a really well done video from Crobat on YouTube where he compares Gears 1 and Gears 5 and like the animations, and it's so much more immersive despite the fact that the games are like 15 years in between of age, and obviously Gears 5 is running on Unreal Engine 4 and just pushing graphics to the edge. Immersion matters, and I think you get better immersion with animations and art direction than something like graphics, right? I mean, if graphics really mattered, no one would be immersed in Toy Story. You know what I mean? Like, it's more about immersion. You want to be immersed in the experience. Like, Toy Story isn't, like, revolutionary looking, although it did as it aged. But, like, it's a cartoon. It's a 3D thing. First time chat, no yokes, love your content. We appreciate that. Doom117 with the first time chat. Hello to you. First time chat, Girabexon, no datum. I don't know what that means, but I respect it. So, yeah. It's insane. Sporting, all caps with 3 underscores. Thank you for the follow. You're beautiful. You're goose-tastic. We'd love to have you here. Chat, that has been our take on the gaming industry. And honestly, I think that Donkey's publishing and like YouTubers like Ponty Pants and, you know, I mentioned Jack Sather. There's plenty. I really think, honestly, chat, 3 to 5 years from now, I really think YouTubers, like we say YouTubers, but it's like, I really think if you're going to be an indie dev, you need a YouTube channel. Because at the end of the day, like, you can make the best game in the world and post it on Steam with a trailer, you know? But, like, at the end of the day, like, that's a rough uphill battle. You really want an audience that you can say, hey, here, boom, here's my game. You guys get a discount because you guys are the goats or the goslings, whatever you are. And, you know, how does someone compete? Like, how do they compete? I mean, the reach of someone like Donkey versus even let's take Arrowhead Studios, right, who put out Helldivers 2, which has been in some turmoil, and we'll get to that in just 2 seconds. But you know, who has bigger reach, Donkey or Arrowhead Studios? Of course, they have Sony backing them, but Donkey's got reach. If Donkey wants to sell stuff, Donkey can sell stuff. That's just the power of YouTube and the audience that content creators make. So I really think 3 to 5 years you're going to start seeing some crazy stuff. Start spreading the word, okay? Because I'm not seeing anyone in the gaming media space. I feel like they're so behind. They're like 10 years behind. They don't talk about anything relevant.